The NBA finally released its all-defense teams for this season, and straight up, Fred VanVleet got robbed. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why that is the case. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with AmateurHour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. On this channel, we give you the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. We're going to be doing that all throughout the offseason, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel to keep up to date with all of those videos and help us build on the 9,000 subscribers that we just hit on this channel. But today's video, Fred VanVleet got absolutely robbed of an all-defense team. Again, this is the third season in a row where Fred VanVleet has been top 3 in deflections and top 5 in steals, yet still does not make the all-defense team, either of the all-defense teams. Now, granted, last season, the Raptors were not good. They were in the Tampa season. Fred VanVleet missed a lot of games because we were tanking, so I can understand maybe last season, but even 2 years ago when the Raptors were the 2 seed and had one of the best defenses in the NBA, I mean, that was a time where we could have gotten a player on all-defense team. This year, the Raptors, I mean, they may not have started the best on defense, but Fred VanVleet all throughout the season was excellent on defense. The only time I really saw Fred VanVleet's defense falter was in the playoffs, which doesn't factor into the all-defense votes. So let's take a look at the all-defense first team and second team to see where I have my issues with the list and why Fred VanVleet is not on the list. The first team, respect the players there, I still have a problem with it. And the second team, my biggest problem is, oh my God, how is Matisse Thybulle in here? How has he gotten away with this again?
You can't keep getting away with this!
How do people continue to think and recognize this guy as this premier defender in the NBA? Like, I know playoffs don't factor into the voting, but I mean, throughout the entire season, and especially in the playoffs, Matisse Thybulle proved to be somebody who, like, honestly, a lot comes from steals, a lot comes from blocks. Like, in terms of being a one-on-one defender, he gets blown by way too easily. Sure, he's not a bad defender, I'm not saying that. But to be on an all-defense team, to be one of the top 4 guards on an all-defense selection, like, it's just absolutely ridiculous for me to see him in this list above Fred VanVleet. And if you look at the amount of votes the players got, like, Thybulle got way more votes than Fred VanVleet at 87. Fred VanVleet only had 41 votes, so it's not like it was even close here. Fred VanVleet was the 5th guard voted in, so he missed out on an all-defense selection by 1 spot. But still, like, how does Thybulle continue to get away with all this?
He can't keep getting away with it!
I'm not saying he's a bad defender again, but like, he is not as good as Fred VanVleet. He is not as impactful a defender that Fred VanVleet is. And especially because Fred VanVleet, not only is he, does he get those statistics in terms of steals, in terms of deflections, but also he keeps with his check. He's very good at contesting shots. He plays way above his size. And even honestly, he's a very good paint defender. He just knows how to strip the ball. He knows how to get the stops. And I don't just see that with Thybulle. That's my biggest problem with this list, because Thybulle in no way, shape, or form should be ahead of Fred VanVleet here. But honestly, looking at these teams, like, take a look at the first team here. Do you guys see the same problem I'm seeing here? Because Fred VanVleet should not have even had a problem with Thybulle getting in, because Mikal Bridges is listed as a guard on the first team. I'm sorry, but Mikal Bridges does not play as a guard. He plays with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Chris Paul, we can all agree, is a point guard. Devin Booker, we can all agree, is a shooting guard. Mikal Bridges is a small forward. How the hell is he listed as a guard for the all-defense teams? Now, I'm not disputing the fact that Mikal Bridges is all-defense caliber, but not in the guard slot here, which would also take away position from Fred VanVleet from getting into the team. And judging by the fact that Fred VanVleet was the 5th highest voted guard, he should be in one of these teams. So that's one of the problems I have with this. But an even bigger problem is the Thybulle thing. The fact that Thybulle is here ahead of Fred VanVleet. And I don't really understand where this is coming from in terms of, record, in terms of ability. Like, in terms of ability, I'm feeling like Fred VanVleet's there. In terms of record, how good the teams are, the Raptors were the 5th seed, the 76ers were the 4th seed. It's not like the Raptors were that much further behind the 76ers, only just a few games behind. If the Raptors could actually beat the Detroit Pistons, we may have been ahead of the 76ers in the standings at the end of the season. And again, we're not counting playoffs, what happened in the playoffs here, but I mean, granted, I'm not watching a ton of 76ers basketball, but, they're in the same time zone that I am. They're in the same division as the Raptors, so naturally, I do see some 76ers games here or there. And honestly, I don't understand the hype that Matisse Thybulle has built up around his game as a defender. Like, it's just not there for me. It's not there on the elite levels like some other players. Like, I think Fred VanVleet should be in the team, but, Thybulle should also not be ahead of DeJounte Murray here. that also doesn't make a lot of sense for me. And in terms of the impact, I was saying Fred VanVleet has that extra bit of impact, but Fred VanVleet is also more impactful in a larger sample size. If you look at the amount of minutes both of these players have played this season, Fred VanVleet played 2,462 minutes, and Matisse Thybulle played 1,685 minutes. So it doesn't really make any sense that Thybulle is getting 25 minutes per game in 66 games, and Fred VanVleet is out there playing a lot more minutes and maintaining his level of impact in these games to a higher degree than Thybulle. Fred VanVleet is a better defender in a larger sample size and is more impactful on the court. So I'm just struggling to understand how voters have gone with Matisse Thybulle in this discussion. Like, I don't want to call this another blatant disrespect on the Raptors, because there's a lot of players being disrespected here. Like, again, DeJounte Murray is one I also think should have gotten more votes here, but I just can't understand where all of this traction comes from Matisse Thybulle as a defender. Like, especially in the playoffs, we were getting to the point as Raptors fans, like, Thybulle couldn't play in any of the games in Canada because of his vaccination status. We were getting to the point where we wanted him to play because obviously he was a much bigger liability on offense, but even on defense, like, there were players going at Thybulle, picking on Thybulle in the very limited amount of minutes that he actually got in the playoffs, going at him and scoring with ease. It got to a point where they cheered Matisse Thybulle off the court when he got subbed out of the game. 76ers fans cheered him off the floor because they were so thankful that he wasn't going to be playing anymore. Like how is this guy voted in? And might I say, by a long distance above Fred VanVleet, by a longer distance above DeJounte Murray. Like, it's not like, again, it's not like it was close. Voters have decided very clearly that Matisse Thybulle should be on the second team above Fred VanVleet. And honestly, the fact that we've got Fred VanVleet, who's never made an all-defense team, OG Anunoby, who's never made an all-defense team, Pascal Siakam, who's never made an all-defense team. It is absolutely criminal. I would like to say, shout out Fred VanVleet for getting all these votes. That's great. Also, shout outs to OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes, who also received from votes. They weren't very close to making either of the teams, but shout out to them for getting some recognition at least. So, as it comes to the next season, we always talk about, how OG Anunoby can get into an all-defense team and how Fred VanVleet can get into an all-defense team. I'm looking at them like how much more can they produce, especially Fred VanVleet this season. I think OG Anunoby still has another level, but in terms of Fred VanVleet, like, how much more can he do as a defender? He is one of the best guard defenders in the entire NBA, and the fact that, he's undersized yet still has that switchability is just ridiculous. It's just a testament to how talented he is on that side of the basketball. Like, his impact for the Raptors, especially earlier on in the season en route to becoming an all-star, his impact from when he was on the floor versus when he was off the floor was so profound. The Raptors had no choice but to play him like 40 minutes per game because they just simply could not have him on the bench. They could not go on in a game without him on the floor. That is just how much Fred VanVleet brings to the Raptors, how much he brought to them this season. Now, next season, what can we do to get Fred VanVleet into one of those all-defense teams? I think part of the reason why he wasn't voted in was maybe the Raptors making such a late run. Maybe people just weren't recognizing the Raptors as such a good team. And the Raptors, in terms of their team defense, they really started coming into their own at the end of the season. But the reality is, at the start of the season, it was very poor. Now, that's not on Fred VanVleet, who was such a good defender, especially at the start of the season, but maybe that factors into this award. So as the Raptors have kind of figured out their core, figured out the team they have, and figured out their game style, I expect their defense as a team to be much better all throughout next season. And if Fred VanVleet and even guys like OG Anunoby can keep the same level of defense or even elevate to a different degree, they have to get recognized as all defense caliber players, especially if the Raptors can move up in seeding to maybe a top 4 spot in the East. Much easier said than done, but we shall see. But what I know from this season, Fred VanVleet got absolutely robbed. So what do you guys make of these all-defense teams? Do you think the NBA got it right? Do you think there are some omissions? Do you think I'm right about Fred VanVleet? Let's start those discussions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please drop a like on the video if you did enjoy. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. Let's get to 200 likes on this video, and make sure that if you are new and you did like what you see from today's video, that you are subscribed to AmateurHour Sports. We're on a road to 10,000 subscribers, 5 figures. I cannot wait to get there, and you can help us do it. I'll see you again next time for another video.